Who's on the list? Am I on the list, Rogue? Am I on that list? Is my name on that list?
You're number 5. How's it feel to be on death row, Warden?
Hello and welcome to Most Unwanted, an X-Files podcast. I'm Chex and I'm joined as ever by Luke to discuss Season 3 of the X-Files. How are you, Luke?
Boiling hot.
Oh, it's too hot.
It's really hot today. Well, it's not that hot, to be honest. It's just... I'm looking at my watch because I'm not like gone mental. It's got the thermometer on it.
How hot is it in here?
Currently, it is... Well, I don't know about in here, but the temperature is 20.
But
20
inside
degrees.
it's so stuffy.
Yeah.
We're on leather chairs, it's sticking to us. Oh,
We did debate getting naked for this one, to be honest, but no one wants that image.
well, yeah. We could have done it and just not said anything.
Yeah, but I like to be honest with the audience.
So if we ever do a naked episode,
We'll tell you.
we will tell you straight off the bat.
We'll save that for a few episodes time.
If we ever do, the Instagram photo for the episode would have to be us two with conveniently placed microphones.
Or just the most unwanted, like, alien symbol. There we go.
Yeah, perfect. So look forward to that.
Don't look forward to that.
How have you been anyway, Luke? You alright?
Yeah, I've been okay. I've not got really anything to report this week. It's been quite a dull week, if I'll be completely honest. There's nothing happened.
A bit run of the mill, I suppose. Yeah, I've been pretty much the same. What about this week? Have you got anything on? Have you got any plans?
Picking up our cat. I mentioned that we were getting it in a few weeks' time.
Yes. Shelley.
That was delayed because the people who are fostering her were on holiday, so nothing you do about that. But so yeah, we're getting her on Friday now. So that's it, really. That's all I'm doing. Like this week, pretty much weekend's been blocked out for that. And
Are you all set up for her?
yeah, we got everything. We bought a scratching post of a cushion on top, which
Nice.
I looked at it and I was like, this cat's going to get treated better than I do in the house.
Do you want a squatching post?
It's got a really soft pillow. I touched it and I was like, this is softer than the pillows we sit on. It's ridiculous. It costs £20. £20 for a scratching post.
It's mental.
It's absolutely crazy.
Yeah,
but
that's a lot of money.
But hey, that's the price you pay for looking after animals, I guess.
Yeah, I wish we could have more animals. Like, we've had quite a few in the past, but my allergies have just got so bad over the last year or so, maybe 2 years, where, we used to have rats. You know this, but for the listeners, me and Jem used to have rats, and then my asthma came back, or what I thought was my asthma, and for 2 years I was back on inhalers, and it was just really bad asthma, like waking up in the middle of the night. I was on like steroids, and then the rats died.
That was unrelated.
I
Big body.
just wanted to get buff.
Yeah, in a big bodybuilding phase, that was at the same time.
But yeah, when the rats died, all of a sudden my asthma disappeared, and then I sort of realised, I'm just really allergic to animals. So it is a shame, but yeah, I mean, at least I basically get an animal now because I get to see Shelley every couple of weeks.
You will, yeah.
So there you go.
And if Check sends her incredibly bunged up,
I know, yeah. Imagine if I just swell up during an episode.
while you're in like Veruca Salt or whatever her name was. Which one was? No, it was Violet Beauregard. Got to get our Willy Wonka canon accurate.
Yeah, that's very important to all of our listeners.
Yeah.
Who's your favourites of the Willy Wonka children?
I would say it would probably be Veruca Salt, just because... No, Mike TV.
Your favourite? He's unanimously the worst character.
Yeah. I mean, none of them are good.
No, I mean, that's kind of the point of the story,
I guess Charlie. Boring old Charlie. He's like Luke Skywalker. Got nothing about him, but, you know, he's the hero, isn't he?
Yeah, he's the thief. He is a thief.
Is it? Oh yeah, he steals them bubbles.
He steals lemonade. Doesn't
Come on, this is a corporate America. It's not in there. It is. Where are they actually living? Willy Wonka, the film.
I don't know.
Because they've all got American accents.
I think it is America. I'm not sure. It's not just him that's a thief, though. He comes from a family of thieves, thieving from the taxpayer. That's what they're doing. Oh, I'm bedridden. I can't get out of bed. Golden ticket, you say? Dance around the room. Nah, I'm not having this. He's horrendous.
You didn't see the after of this. They landed the glass elevator and social services was there. Tax evasion. We need to have a chat about your disability payments.
Yeah, and then he gets taxed real big because he's an owner of a chocolate factory now. Yeah. Like, the taxes are huge.
And then he set up... He was probably in them, what's it, papers? The papers that got released. What are they called now?
I don't know.
I'm trying to make a topical reference and I can't remember the topic.
I've got no idea.
Oh, what are they called? Panama Papers? That's it. Oh, where all the taxes came out. Charlie and the Chocolate Factory there.
Charlie Bucket, wasn't it?
Charlie Buckets. Yeah.
Top of the list. And Grandpa Buckets.
Amazon just slightly below them. Jeff Bezos is just like, thank God for Charlie Bucket.
I mean, there was 6 of them in that bed. Like, you know what I mean? That's a lot of... It's a lot of benefits.
There's a lot of benefits, yeah.
Horrendous.
Yeah. Do you know what, though? Like, they should have been on... For this, like, not tax evasion, but, like, this benefit scam that they had running.
And it was a scam.
They should have been on some kind of list, you would think.
This is my episode. I make the transitions here. All right. Okay? Not you. Stop trying to take over everything. Okay?
All right. Go for it.
So, this benefit scam that was on, they should have been on some sort of list.
Nah, it's not as good.
Speaking of...
It just sounds forced now.
On with the show! So this week we'll be looking at Season 3, Episode 5, titled The List. Directed by and written by Chris Carter this week.
Pulling double duty today.
Double duty, and it's been a long time since we've seen him get involved. I mean, he sort of gets involved in the finals and like the sort of beginning episode.
He's the executive producer, so I imagine
he's got his fingers in everything, hasn't he? Really, but yeah, it looks like this is totally him. As I usually do, I know I probably annoy people by doing this, but I always tend to put it out on Front Street exactly at the start of the episode. I'm disappointed in him for this episode, really, because this episode, I mean, I said to you before we started, this is probably going to be a very short episode. Yeah. Because for me, there was just nothing memorable about it. The only thing memorable about it was me trying to remember all the names. Because we watched this, I watched this last week, and so I'm looking at some of the names here, I'm like, I don't even know how to pronounce them. I forgot all those names. But yeah, we'll get to it. It originally aired on October 20th, 1995. And yeah, that's all the notes I have on it. Should we get into it?
Before we start,
yeah,
you have to clarify. We made a lot of contentious. That's it. Contentious claims about the Bucket family, and we need to just say that we have no proof. We don't want to slander any families.
Especially the Bucket
family.
They've got those chocolate factory lawyers now. They'll come after you.
That sounds like a slur.
Oh, God. Oh, dear Lord. Let's steer away from this right now.
But yeah, so we'd like to just say, Buckets, you're fine. Keep doing what you're doing.
But people are watching. That's all I want to say. People are always watching.
We're very, very conservative on the Bucket family. Anyway, less about the Buckets, more about the list.
The list. So at the start of this episode, we're introduced to Napoleon Manley, nicknamed Nietzsche.
Was that his full name? I didn't even catch that.
I did a research. I thought I just know him as Nietzsche, but yeah, he is credited as Napoleon Manley. Is Nietzsche a short word for Napoleon? Is that seems a strange jump?
I've never heard anyone describe Napoleon Bonaparte as Nietzsche. So, no, I don't know. Yeah,
but what nape? What were the short?
I don't think you can shorten Napoleon Bonaparte. You know what I mean?
Well,
he was pretty sure as he was. Anyway, but I don't think that name sort of just speaks for itself. That came out of nowhere. That wasn't even planned.
That was great.
That was good.
That was great. I saw the twinkle in your eyes as soon as you saw the joke. But this Napoleon, Nietzsche, he's a death row inmate at Florida prison. And the first scenes that we see him in, he's basically being brought to the electric chair. He's being brought to his death. And we do see him sort of having a conversation with his wife before he gets taken away. And she mentions to him that she'll never love another man. And basically, she's just sort of trying to comfort him. And he seems to just sort of bat it away, like, not interested whatsoever.
Yeah.
Just like I've always told you. I swear on my life, Nietzsche.
Time to go.
I ain't ever gonna love another man. You hear me? I won't. I won't betray our love. Ever.
Time to eat. Time to go.
That phone call's gonna come. And the governor is gonna come through.
Gotta go now.
Then taken to the chair. I always find electric chairs really sort of barbaric.
Yeah, it's a weirdly like
being from like sort of over in the UK.
Yeah,
it just I can't get my head around how it's still like gas injections. I can sort of understand because it's like an injection. It's like, but like it's the gallery. Do you know what I mean? Like we're going to watch someone die. It just seems strange to me.
Yeah, it doesn't feel like an effective like painless death as well. You know what I mean? Like it feels like, I mean, killing someone it already is like kind of like. I didn't realise we'd get into a debate on the right to kill.
I know, yeah,
of a state, but it always feels like that's a barbaric thing to do anyway. But you'd at least think you don't want to cause them suffering while they've chose to kill them. You know what I mean? Like there shouldn't be an element of pleasure. You know what I mean in what they're doing. And the electric chair, I always think like has that like. Yeah, like you said, it's like a theatre kind of thing.
Yeah, that's what it feels like, doesn't it? It feels like it's more for on show. Do you know what I mean?
It feels like more of just technological version of like a hanging. You know
basically. Yeah, exactly. Before he's executed, though, he's asked whether he has any last words, and Nietzsche starts giving this speech to the gallery about how he'll be reincarnated, and that he will avenge himself against the 5 men who tormented him in prison.
Yeah.
The sort of warden cuts him off and ends up telling someone to flip the switch. And just before we go on here, did you know that is this the way it always happens, where they bring a stranger to do it and like put the hood on them?
I know that you're not meant to know the executioner's identity and stuff like that.
I couldn't believe that. I couldn't believe they like still wore a hood and stuff like that. That's crazy.
I know they're not meant to, or it's meant to be like secret. It's the same with like the firing squad thing, where it's like they have 5 people and only one's got a
so none of them has that sort of guilt afterwards.
Yeah. I suppose in this one he knows he's done it, but
yeah.
They need the Carl Pilkington idea of just hooking up to somebody's lights. Before we carry on as well, I really like the lighting in this scene. Like, if I'm gonna, there's not much, as we said, there's not much to go on story wise. So I looked at some of the other elements, like the production elements, and I thought in this episode it does a lot with the like grimy atmosphere of a prison, and I thought the lighting like really did sell this execution scene.
Yeah,
I thought,
it's got personally. It always had that sort of green filter, didn't it?
Yeah.
Very much like remind me of like Green Mile and stuff like that. And
yeah.
It definitely had that feel to it. So after the execution, we see Fox and Fox. Why?
His mom calls him his fox.
I know, yeah. We see Mulder and Scully, and they're investigating this guy. It's a bit of a leap, considering they know he's died, but they're investigating him because a guard at the prison has mysteriously been found dead in Nietzsche's old cell.
Yeah. They mention in this part why he was sentenced to death as well. And he was basically sentenced to death for being a getaway driver for somebody who... I was like, that's harsh.
Yeah,
really?
Yeah. It did seem a little bit...
I was like, surely they could have come up with... I guess they're trying to paint him as the sympathetic figure, like being sentenced to death for it. But come up with a better crime than that, because like, I can't imagine anyone would get sentenced like that for that crime, but anyway. Also... I was a bit sceptical as we were going in, as we were getting another ghost episode. That's what it seemed like, anyway.
To be fair, though, you do see these mad stories. I remember reading one the other day, and I'm going to butcher it. I probably shouldn't butcher it, because I know the original article that I was reading about it, it was making a sort of point about race and like the way different races are treated differently.
Yeah.
But there's a black man in prison in America for possession of marijuana. I think he got 10 years, and it's become legal in the last 2 years, and he's still in prison for possession of it. Yeah. Whereas there's people who are like, I think like accessory to murder, and they got out after 2.5 years. Yeah. Like, it's crazy when you think about it, isn't it? So there are some mad sentences out there. So it's not completely out of the realms of possibility, but like, it does. Death. It seems like a bit of a leap. Yeah, I agree.
Talk of mad like prison stories. Have you ever heard of that story of the guy who basically got left in prison? They forgot he was in there.
What?
He got arrested in like a county like sort of jail for, I think he was drunken. He'd been drunk and disorderly, and they had a change of guard, and he hadn't filled out the paperwork properly, so the paperwork got lost for him.
And he was just there.
He was just there, and they just left him in there. Basically, I can't remember the guy's name, and 100% it's a true story because I couldn't believe what I was reading. But he was basically in jail for like 3 years for being drunk and disorderly.
No,
they just kept feeding him and stuff, and they were just like, "Well, he's in here for a reason."
Did he not question it?
He kept saying he's innocent, but like obviously everybody says they're innocent, so they just were like, yeah, whatever. And the guards, didn't check into it. And
I bet you he got a hefty payment afterwards.
Probably.
Yeah.
I can't remember the full details of what happened afterwards, but yeah, it is out there. I might find like the link, and I might share it on.
Yeah, there you go.
Social media. But yeah.
Mulder and Scully go to meet the prison warden. And he tells them that he believes that Nietzsche planned the guard's murder with someone on the outside before he was executed. There is this sort of... Mulder's trying to sort of put this idea into Scully's head of, is he doing it from beyond the grave? And obviously the warden doesn't believe that, and that's the first port of call, is he thinks it's premeditated. And we'll introduce them to John Speranza, another inmate on death row. When they go to interview him, he believes that Nietzsche's returned. And he looks genuinely shook up about it all. And he won't give too much away, but you kind of believe him from like the way he's talking. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, so, and obviously Mulder definitely believes him. Scully then leaves the cell whilst Mulder keeps talking to him. And she goes to explore. I don't know what she sees, but she just sees like the sort of shadowy room.
Yeah. It's very Silence of the Lambs, I found, with this scene where she's walking along like the cells and everyone's like catcalling and like making... It felt a lot like that. Yeah,
I'd agree with that. God, that's a great scene in Silence of the Lambs. Yeah, I forgot about that. I'd agree, and they do try and make that sort of a bit of a point throughout this episode of like Scully having to deal with sort of being a woman in this situation. Because it's got to be quite difficult. It's difficult for anyone, let alone being... Can you imagine just walking down and being catcalled and just called all the names under the sun?
Yeah, I was going to say, in a men's prison, like, the last thing you want to be is a woman walking down, like, the alley there, I guess. You're going to hear the worst things in the world from some of the worst people in the world.
Exactly, you know? While she's exploring the prison, she ends up in the showers. really dark, really shadowy, and a guard, well, we don't know it's a guard, but we see someone grab her into the shadows, and we find out that it's a guard. His name's Vincent Parnelli. He tells her he's not going to hurt her, and he claims that another prisoner, I forgot how to say this guy's name, I think it's Rock, or Rock.
Yeah, I think it's Rock. Or
Roke. Is it Roke? Yeah. I wrote it down right, I can't remember what it said.
R-O-K-U-E, is it?
That's it. R-O-Q-U-E.
Q, that's it, yeah, sorry.
So yeah, he's saying Rogue is keeping a list of the remaining 4 victims. So we have our first lead.
Did you notice this guy? Have you ever seen Dawn of the Dead?
I've not, no.
No, he is one of the characters.
Oh, is he?
Yeah, one of the main characters in that. I knew his face as soon as I saw him. I was like, I've seen this guy in something, but because it's 20 years from when it was filmed, it was like, oh, he looks a lot older now.
Yeah.
But yeah, he's got a very recognisable face if you see him.
Yeah, I didn't recognise him in anything, but yeah, I haven't seen that film, to be fair. No. So, it does bring me to one point. I have a bit of an issue with this episode, just because I did mention this before we started recording. I couldn't help but notice when I was watching it that all the prisoners are black and all the police are white. Sure, it was. I don't know whether I'm sure it was done by accident or whatever, but it stood out to me, and I think as we're reviewing the episodes, especially in 2019, I feel like it would be remiss of me not to mention that it's there. And yeah, there is one black officer, and he turns out to be not a very nice guy himself. So just one of those things that it grinds me when I see it in today's day and age, where I just watching it going, why are all the bad guys black and all the good guys white? Do you know what I mean? And it was a little bit like that. I mean, I suppose you could say the prison warden's not really a good guy himself. So
yeah. I guess it's one of those as well where it's sort of it's a story where it's sort of talking about like not, I suppose, getting revenge as well for like mistreating and like miscarriages of justice. So I guess it's sort of that story. But,
possibly,
yeah.
Possibly. I don't know. It stood out to me, and again, I don't know whether it's I don't know whether there was a scene about it at the time, but yeah, I think especially you can be sensitive to it now. Especially, I remember watching. I think we discussed it, watching Game of Thrones, and then especially towards spoilers if anyone the next couple of minutes if no one's seen it yet. But I think the last few episodes of that, where pretty much every black character in the show basically becomes this savage, and I think in my head something doesn't sit right with me. And I know it's not usually intended like that, but still, I think it's important to notice when that happens, because when you stop noticing that happening, that's when it becomes the norm.
It's interesting these days when you read like stuff about like racial stereotyping and stuff like that, because it's in stuff that you didn't even expect. I was reading an article the other day and it was talking about how the orcs in D&D are basically a negative stereotype for like Eastern Asian, like Mongolians and stuff like that.
Oh, okay.
They're basically just taken like as marauding, like what's it? And
made them into
and made them into like a savage race and stuff like that. And it's like, I've never like. They're not saying they shouldn't do this, but it's just pointing out that this.
That's the thing. It's noticing that it's there and making a note of it, because I think it's when it becomes that norm that that's just the way it is. That's when it becomes an issue.
We've spoken of this before. It's more interesting to just talk about it and just be like.
Just breeze over it, yeah, exactly.
Be aware and just be,
Yeah, exactly. So, I did have an issue with it for that reason, but that's by the by. I'll just thought I'd mention it on the show. So later, the head and one of the other guards is discovered. The severed head, should I say?
In a bucket of paint, wasn't it?
In a bucket of paint, yeah. They're all sort of doing. I think they're painting or something like that. The prisoners are painting.
It's a good guess.
Well, it wasn't a bucket of paint, was it? I don't know whether it was a bucket of paint or lead paint or something like that. I don't know. But anyway, they opens up this bucket and a head is found, severed head, and it's of a guard called Fournier.
He had a mustache. That's the recognisable thing in
it.
It's
straight away you recognise it. Yeah. They do an examination of the head, and it shows it shows basically it's decomposing at an alarming rate.
Yeah.
There's a lot of larvae already sort of. I mean, it can have only been the last couple of days, but like the larvae is already all over this sort of severed head.
Yeah.
And the prison coroner tells Scully that the first guard's lungs were completely infested with these same larvae. So all these bodies are decomposing at a quicker rate than usual.
Yeah. I thought initially maybe these flies were a contributing factor to their deaths.
Yeah,
maybe,
almost like a plague type thing. Yeah, I know what you mean.
But I think it's just an omen, basically, for it, yeah.
Maybe. There's a couple of ways you can look into it, but I'll get to that later. But yeah, he does mention that the larvae belongs to the green bottlefly, and apparently they lay eggs a little bit faster. Like, apparently they're known for being able to lay their eggs within a day.
Yeah, in humid climates and stuff like that, like the prison would see.
Exactly, yeah. So yeah, meanwhile, Mulder's talking to Roke, and Roke wants to transfer out of the prison. So he basically is trying to cut a deal. He's saying, I'll give you the names on the list if you can get me an exchange. Basically, I hold the lives of these last remaining 3 men. Get me an exchange out of here and I'll let you know who they are.
I thought he might have been on the list at this point. That's why he wanted to get out, but it didn't turn out that way.
No, and he's being very sort of coy about who's on the list. He was giving just enough information to show that he could. He does have the names, but not enough to sort of ruin his leverage, I suppose.
Basically, yeah.
So Mulder talks to the warden about this, and the warden refuses. He says it can't happen. And to be fair, makes sense.
I thought he had a good point here.
Yeah. He goes on to say, I mean, I haven't noted this down, but he does go on to say that if he did let this happen, because Mulder makes the argument, well, isn't the life of 3 men worth doing this deal for? And he goes on to say that, well, if I was to make this deal, then if in future references, all the prisoners know that if you can get to my guards, then you can cut a deal for yourself.
Yeah, exactly.
So you're putting more guards at risk. And I didn't think of it like that, but I was like, yeah, that actually makes sense.
And also, he's looking at it logically, that this is realistically, outside of the X-Files, this is probably a conspiracy between prisoners and the guards, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, you wouldn't bow to the pressure, you know, it's that age-old thing of, like, you don't negotiate with terrorists, because then they know to keep doing it.
Yeah,
you know
exactly.
I mean?
You give them exactly what they want.
Yeah. And why would you believe that it's a reincarnated spirit that's doing it, you know what I mean? So
yeah, exactly.
I thought he had a good point. Not a nice guy, but he did have a good point here.
He certainly did. Unfortunately, he goes into his office and finds a headless body right at this moment. Yeah. Later on, they start searching Nietzsche's cell, and Mulder discovers basically his obsession. He finds out that he was obsessed with reincarnation, and sort of figures out he's got all of these books, and he knows. It looks like it was more than just an interest. He was obsessed with being reincarnated once he died.
Yeah.
Which you would imagine is not uncommon for people on death row. Like, I think that it's the same as finding God, I suppose, when you're on death row. I think it's the fear of nothing after your death almost force you to believe something. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I think, you do hear about
it's a coping mechanism, I suppose, isn't it?
I think you hear about people who, like, terminally ill as well, suddenly start, like, finding religion and stuff like that, and I suppose when you're at that point, why not? It's good insurance, I guess.
Yeah, exactly, yeah. They decided the one person they haven't spoke to is Danielle Manley, which is Nietzsche's widow.
Yeah. Before that, they're in the library as well. And Mulder starts giving this speech about, like, the life after death.
Yeah.
Every major world religion encompasses the idea of life after death. That means millions, even billions of people believe in some kind of transmigration or rebirth of the soul.
I'm sorry, Mulder, that's not what I learned in catechism.
No, even Christianity teaches about the resurrection and ascendancy of the heavenly body.
I'm sure he's given this speech before.
I think it's the generic.
Because there's an episode,
sentiment, isn't it?
Is it the episode where the guy, they think the girl is killing people, but it's actually like a guy who's died?
It's in the first season, isn't it?
Yeah. And I'm sure he gives this speech about, like, reincarnation and, like, life after death, and it's pretty similar. Like,
yeah. the thing is, I think again, it's just very generic. I think it's almost sort of just, it's almost like putting your pseudoscience into it. It's like explaining that, well, this is possible, and then they don't ever go further than that. It's just like, oh yeah, well, if you think about it this way, then it's possible theoretically, and it's just trying to give it a sort of a bit more substance, I think.
I just thought it's funny though, because they did the exact same thing in the last one, where they point out that Dana Scully, I've got a name right in front of me, Scully's Catholic, so then they make a point of her being Catholic and believing it, and I was like, you've done this, like,
yeah.
How many times are they gonna go back to that? Well, but anyway, so I just remembered that.
No, yeah, good point. So yeah, they go to see Danielle. I haven't put it in my notes, but we know at this point that she's dating Parmelli, don't we?
Yeah. So before then, we see her basically. She's looking out the window, and he sort of comes up behind her, and then they find out.
That's right. Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
And at this point, I was thinking, oh, maybe this isn't like a ghost killing story. Basically, this guard, must have been working, or must have this list, and must be working with his wife or something like that.
That's what I thought. I thought he was going to be the bad guy in it all. And to be fair, I think he kind of is, isn't he?
That's the thing. Like, by the end of it, like, you could take it that only the last death is sort of caused by this Nietzsche like character. I think the other one, she could sort of think, oh, maybe it was this guard doing this, like.
Well, it definitely looks that way.
Yeah.
And I mean, we're jumping ahead a little bit, but that last death, it could literally just be the warden maybe imagining something.
That's the way I took it as. Well, I didn't believe it's this way because I thought it was the X-Files, and the X-Files like to have their supernatural thing. But I thought it was more interesting if you sort of see it as this guy who was like enacting revenge on behalf of this guy.
Yeah.
And then, he just crashed at the end because he's like, guilty or something for what's happened. And you go, oh, maybe it wasn't supernatural. It was just a revenge plot. You know what I mean?
And then it was everyone's fear around that revenge plot that caused the paranormal events, if you like.
Yeah. That's, to me, that makes it a more interesting episode than it was. I don't think that's what they were going for.
No, I don't think so. I don't think it was. While this is happening, Roke is brought to the showers. Where he's introduced to the warden. He goes under duress, but the warden's there, and the warden starts basically beating him up. Pretty sort of, like, he doesn't have a chance to think his hands are handcuffed behind his back.
Yeah.
And he's beaten to death.
Yeah, we find out,
but he does reveal to the warden that the warden is the fifth person on the list.
He has a good line here, actually, where he says, how does it feel to be on death row, warden?
I
like that they flipped the tables.
They twisted it, but now we know why the warden is so amped up. I think he knows that he was the fifth person on the list.
I get that. Because he would know that if he's treating people this way, then, and then people start dropping dead after he said he's punishing.
Yeah.
He must know. Yeah, he must know.
So this is where we start going into the sort of detective side of Mulder and Scully, because the warden puts the prison under lockdown, and he tells them that Nietzsche had a violent history with all three victims, so there's a rhyme and reason for their deaths. He believes that it's anyone who's crossed paths in a violent sense towards him. And Mulder starts to believe that Nietzsche came back for revenge against the guards, but he doesn't believe that Roke was on the list, doesn't fit the bill. And then I like this. There was a nice little bit of detective work, because he requests that he be provided with the name of Nietzsche's executioner, which, as we said at the beginning, was he was left anonymous. Basically because there's only three people that know the executioner. If the executioner ends up dying, then it narrows your suspect list to three people. Because only three people could have known that it was him. So I thought that was a nice little. I thought that was clever. A clever little bit in the episode.
It does have this in X-Files. It does have some good detective work amongst all.
Not as often as I'd like, to be honest, because I do like the idea that they are detectives at the end of the day. Like it shouldn't just be them chasing it to a logical conclusion. It should be them having to figure things out. And something like this just adds a little bit of. Not everyone could have done this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? the executioner turns out to be a volunteer named Perry Simon. And they go to his home to discover his decomposing body in the attic. They see, like, the larvae falling from one of the light fixtures. Yeah. And Mulder just catches it with, like, lightning reflexes.
I know, yeah. I wouldn't be grabbing maggots.
No, yeah, I know.
Yeah,
but then again, he doesn't care about that sort of stuff, does he?
I guess not, no.
Do you remember him just going into Toombs' lair?
Yeah.
Like, all like that sort of, that weird, like, sort of, what? It was like
bile.
Nest, bile nest, wasn't it? Oh.
I like that when they find him, he's sort of sat execution style in the chair. It looks like it's the same sort of like setup that we see at the beginning with the.
I didn't even think of it like that, but yeah.
The lighting is sort of similar. Well, it feels like it's the opposite because it's really like lit up as well. Like he's in the attic and stuff, but there's this light cast down onto it. So
yeah,
it did. I thought it was an interesting sort of way to set the scene anyway. But
yeah, I didn't even think about it like that. But yeah. It was well shot, to be fair. Mulder, after this scene, Mulder confronts Speranza about the list and about who else is on it. Obviously, they don't have Roke anymore. But Speranza tells him that Roke wasn't on the list, and he won't tell him anything else. He won't tell him who else is on the list, or even if he knows. I suppose at this point we don't know whether he does know.
No. He's given the old bad cop routine as well, Mulder is, I think,
Yeah. Well, again, I think Speranza came across like he was on Mulder's side, but then he sort of quietens up at himself. So yeah, we're not really sure what side Speranza's on at this point, but he claims to have seen Nietzsche in the last 24 hours outside of his cell. So he's convinced that Nietzsche's doing this himself. Scully has a theory, and she has looked at Nietzsche's phone records whilst he's been in prison, and he's made multiple phone calls to his lawyer, who is Danny Chavez, and she thinks they may have engineered the murders with Speranza. The phone records push them towards Nietzsche's lawyer.
Yeah.
That's the main point.
Yeah.
And so they decide to go and interview him, and he ends up giving away their relationship, the cop and his widow, Danielle.
Yeah.
I don't know how he found out. Oh no, he went over there, didn't he?
Yeah.
My notes for this section's terrible. Yeah, he went over there.
You fall asleep.
Honestly, but I said to you, again, this is pre-recording, so I'll just let the listeners know. But I said to Luke before we started recording, the problem with writing notes for this episode was Mulder and Scully went to do something, someone died. Mulder and Scully went to interview somebody else, somebody died. Mulder and Scully then go and interview someone else, somebody died. I just thought it was really boring.
The setup of the plot of the episode is like, it's like a cliche of an X-Files episode, you know what I mean?
It is, exactly, yeah.
It's like if you said, okay, to just anyone, we need you to write an X-Files episode, and they go, oh, kooky, like, sci-fi element, someone dies, this back forth, and then we found out what. Yeah, it's very formulaic, like, after we've had some episodes, like, especially like after Clyde Bruckman.
Well, this is the first dud of the season, really, I would say, in my opinion.
Yeah.
But yeah, I just really didn't enjoy it. After this season's been going so well, and then this episode, I just found it so boring. It just literally felt like if you could replay the first two scenes over and over again, and then just call the characters different names, and it's basically the same episode. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, if you look at the lawyer, and the lawyer is basically has the exact same story as the executioner. Do you know what I mean? It's just going to his house, finding out that he dies, and that's basically it. Yeah. Anyway, sorry, I've just spoiled the ending there. But,
I mean, if they've got this far in the episode, they've probably watched it.
yeah, I suppose. After they leave, Chavez is sort of just unwinding. He has a nice sip of his whiskey, and then he's suffocated by Nietzsche. Nietzsche basically kills him with a pillow.
Yeah.
So we now have the warden visit Speranza. Offers to have his death sentence revoked if he gives him the information that he wants, trying to bargain with him for a deal.
Yeah.
And Speranza stupidly, I mean, bear in mind, he must know that Rogue was killed.
Yeah.
Surely, like, he went to the showers and then didn't come back, you know what I mean? Like, it's not like it's a big area, like, it happened within 10 feet.
Seems like, though, you've got no choice when it happens.
Yeah,
like,
I suppose.
Yeah.
But anyway, he accepts, he agrees to this offer. And, we see what happens to him later on. We cut to Parmelli, and he's at Danielle's house.
Mm-hmm.
He seems very agitated because he's watching the windows because Mulder and Scully are staking out the house that's sat in the car outside. Danielle's very on edge at this point. She seems to be very worried about the fact that Nietzsche might be back. And he keeps trying to sort of just almost sort of brush it to one side because he doesn't believe it. Like, he's trying to argue logically to her that there's no way he could be back. He's more worried about what's in front of him, which are these FBI agents.
Yeah, exactly.
Which is understandable.
Especially if at this point you're meant to take it as it's him doing the killings. It's like...
Well, that's why they're staked out there, because I think they're suspecting him of doing all of this now.
Yeah.
He's got the motive because he's with Danielle. So, if you look at it from that point of view, especially as the viewer, it's not. He's acting suspicious. So you know what I mean. It fits your theory that it would be him that's done it.
Maybe that is their intention then. Maybe we're not giving them enough credit.
It could very well be, but anyway, they end up going to bed, and Danielle wakes up to see Nietzsche standing over her in the bedroom, and he sort of walks away into the shadows. I think it's meant to be very vague, like, could it be her...
Like her conscience?
Yeah, exactly, or a boyfriend, and she's just seeing it differently. But it freaks her out, as you can imagine, and she goes outside, and she confronts Parmelli, who, again, he's in the shadows, so you think it might be Nietzsche, but it turns out to be Parmelli.
Yeah.
And all this is happening while the agents are walking to the door. They're trying to get in. Scully walks to the window and notices that she's holding Parmelli at gunpoint because she's telling him that Nietzsche's back, and she starts to believe that he's Nietzsche. Which... Yeah,
but I guess if she believes in all this reincarnation stuff that we've been talking about, maybe he's reincarnated as this guy, I don't know.
But he's trying to sort of almost beg for his life at this point. We cut to outside and we hear gunshots. Mulder and Scully rush in. They sort of try and calm her down. They apprehend her. But yeah, Parmelli's been shot dead. It's boring, isn't it? I'm just reading it. I'm just like, oh God.
I think you're in there.
It's just boring. I'm sorry I'm down this episode. I know I am. But it's just...
We're not really selling it to the audience. This is the wackiest episode yet. What will Mulder do next?
I think someone's going to die next. I reckon that's what's going to happen.
Yeah.
So what do we have next? We go back to the prison, and we're with Speranza, and the warden again takes Speranza to the showers. So he takes Speranza to the showers, and I think the idea here is the warden thinks that with the lawyer and Parmelli gone, that's the 5 people on the list, so he's safe. So he doesn't have to have a deal anymore.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to.
And he, at this point, like, he's never believed in the supernatural thing anyway. So I think he thinks, the people who were committing the crimes are gone now.
Yeah.
So
it's over and done with. Yeah. So he ends up killing Speranza as well. He's fast and loose with these killings, isn't he?
Yeah.
Just killing off his entire ward.
Yeah.
But before he does, Speranza tells him that there's still one person on the list, and obviously the warden knows who it is because Speranza's told him before that it's his name.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, we go into like the sort of epilogue now, and I thought this was very strange because it sort of starts wrapping itself up really quickly. Like, I still didn't really know what was going on. I expected more of a resolution.
It just seems to end this episode. Like, things happen and then there's an end, but not exactly. An ending, if you know what I mean. Like,
exactly, and you even see, I mean, Mulder sort of plays the role of the audience here. So he goes on to say Parmelli is blamed for all of the murders. And as they're driving out of town, he pulls over and he sort of gets out. He basically tells Scully, doesn't make sense. None of this makes sense. I don't believe it was just Parmelli. Like, the motive's not there. It doesn't really, like, why would he go through all that effort to kill all those 5 people?
Yeah.
Plus, he mentions that Parmelli was only on duty for one of the murders, so it makes it difficult for him. He just doesn't see it. And then on top of that, it's he wasn't one of the men that knew the executioner. So it just doesn't make sense in Mulder's minds. But Mulder basically believes that Nietzsche had come back from the dead, and he believes that it was his reincarnated form that was doing the killings.
Yeah.
At this exact point, we see the warden drive past. Obviously, they're on the side of the road. He drives past, and as he's driving, he looks into the mirror, the rearview mirror, and he sees Nietzsche in the back seat, who grabs him around the throat, ending up crashing into this tree. Which is like this horrific crash. You see blood spurt from the window.
So to be fair, like, again, if we're looking at like positives for the episode, the crash scene was awesome. Like,
it was
the way
good.
it just hit the thing and like
Head
literally
on,
wrapped itself around the tree, basically.
And literally like blood bursting on the window, like just And the last shot we see is the warden dead in his car.
And Nietzsche nowhere to be seen.
All we do see is the little green bottle fly. So that's the end of the episode. Let's just talk about theories then, because I didn't really know how to take this. I don't know whether I'm being stupid by saying this. I thought, has he been reincarnated as a fly, and he can sort of like come back as Nietzsche, but like it's the flies that, because that seems to be a common theme, that the flies was there at every. I don't know.
It seems to like point. Yeah, it's pointing towards something to do with the flies. That's a part of the supernatural. Element, so,
or maybe they just follow the reincarnation around. I'm not really sure. But again, it's so abruptly ended. I don't know. I know. I'm probably going really down on this episode. I don't know whether it deserves it or not. Maybe I'm just sort of watching it through one lens. But it just seemed like a series of like mystery murders with no real conclusion. Like, it didn't seem to know where it was going itself, let alone letting the audience know where it was going. I just thought it was a little bit boring, if I'm honest.
I wasn't as negative on it, I don't think.
Yeah.
I thought I quite liked that it did keep you guessing. Even up until the ending, it was quite open-ended. I would have liked more of a resolution by the end, because it does just leave it completely open.
Yeah.
Like, I don't know anything of like, there's no hint at either way, I don't think, with it.
No, it literally leaves it up to you to decide what happens.
I really like the look and feel of the episode, like the actual like set design and the lighting of everything just felt really good in it. It was an okay episode. Like, I didn't really feel strongly negative or strongly positive for it. You know what I mean? It was sort of just, I enjoyed 45 minutes and then I'll probably never think about it. Apart from today, I'll probably never talk about it again.
That's the thing, like, we watched this a week ago.
Yeah.
And I could barely remember the episode to go through this.
Yeah.
Do you know what I mean? Like, I literally was relying on my notes, and like, a lot of the time I was looking at my notes and going, I don't even remember this scene. Yeah. It was just so forgettable.
Yeah.
But again, you know how sometimes you can watch an episode and like, looking back on it, maybe like, it was your frame of mind at the time that you don't enjoy it so much, and then maybe it was that, but like, I don't know, I just didn't enjoy this one at all.
Luke's production note.
The list was written and directed by series creator Chris Carter, making it the second time he had directed an episode after season 2's episode Dwayne Barry.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, it's been a while.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh my god! So he's written episodes though, hasn't he? But he's not directed one. So.
Yeah, he tends to not have too many directing credits. I don't think.
As you say, he probably does have sort of a little bit of say over it.
As the executive producer, you're hands-on with everything, you know what I mean, usually. So, for this episode, the art department was asked to create a convincing Death Row set out of thin air. The set took 10 days to construct, making it one of the season's more complicated set assignments. Construction of the set almost single-handedly caused the episode to go over budget, but the show was able to reuse the set in the season in later season episodes. Teso dos Bicho. I'm not sure if that's how it's pronounced, but I'm going with it. And Talitha Kumi.
Okay.
So
I'll have to keep an eye out for that.
Keep an eye out for the set. Unaffiliated television and film projects in the Greater Vancouver area also rented the set for use in their productions.
Okay.
So, sharing the love.
Yeah.
I
wonder whether they charge them for it.
Yeah, I'm not sure. I don't know how that works. I would. I mean, if you built it, make me money back. For many of the scenes, the show's producers opted to use real maggots, creatures that series co-star Gillian Anderson later called amongst the hardest animals with which to work. I mean, you can't really tell a maggot what to do. It's difficult.
I don't think I'd like to work. I'm weird with creepy crawlies and stuff like that. Like, I'd probably get away with anything but moths.
Have you ever? Oh, moths. Yeah.
Moths are my kryptonite. I hate moths.
Have you ever been fishing?
No.
With fishing, you just handle maggots and stuff like that.
Yeah.
So I've sort of maggots. I'm not too bad with. You know what I mean? They're
I reckon I could get used to it. Yeah. And the spiders, I don't like spiders, but I reckon I could get used to it. But moths for me,
See, I don't mind any insect really, as long as they don't surprise me. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
If a spider's ever on me and I wasn't ready for that, I'm like. But then again, anything
you
would
freak out. Yeah.
I feel like if a
cat's on you.
If Shelley jumps on me and I'm not ready for it, karate chopper. But yeah, I don't know. It's just the way it is. Is that your fear then? Moths.
Moths is my big one. Yeah. But to be honest with you, it's not like I don't really. I mean, this is going to sound really arrogant. I don't really have a major fear.
Okay. Nothing like heights or...
No, you know how everyone has a sort of phobia of some sort?
You do?
Or what do I?
Clowns?
You know what I used to, but I've sort of taught myself not to... so back in the day, for my listeners, I used to get really... And again, it was more freaked out by clowns.
Yeah.
To the point where, if we ever went, uptown or something like that, and there was a clown on the street, I'd have to walk across the other side of the street. But now, it's not. It doesn't really bother me that much.
Yeah.
I don't. Moths are probably the one thing that really gets to me.
See, I've got two fears. One's a common fear, and one's a weird one.
Let me see if I can guess.
Okay.
I know you're afraid of heights.
Yeah, that's the common one.
It's it's more just looking over a cliff.
I don't.
Like that,
I don't mind being up high. I just if I'm standing at the top of a really tall building, I don't like standing near the edge because I don't like to see down off it.
Yeah.
I mean, that freaks me out. I don't know why.
So fear of heights and fear of death.
No, that's another. That's a common one, I think.
Yeah, I mean everyone.
I have a really weird fear, and it's not a fear as such because it's not it's just something I'm always cautious of. Yeah, it's so stupid. I'm scared of walking through areas I can't see where my feet are, and being jabbed in the foot by a needle.
Oh, okay. I bet
you.
You've seen this on a TV
It's probably been on Casualty or something like that. Yeah. Casualty.
An AIDS-infested needle or something like that.
Yeah, so if I'm ever walking through tall grass or something like that, I'm really on edge because I'm what am I walking in? I don't know. It's just weird. That's a strange one, but it's never happened.
That's good. That's good.
so far, so good. Anyway, back on topic. Due to the number of issues, the show's design crew was not able to create a full-body replica of the first murder victim, so the portraying actor had to lie on an autopsy table while maggots were poured over his body. In other scenes, brace screens were used as maggot stand-ins.
Oh, God. Yeah, no, thank you.
Yeah, it's not nice. The elaborate car crash scene featured at the end of the episode was described by stunt coordinator Tony Morelli as the most harrowing action scene during the show's third season.
Okay.
So
interesting.
No more big bloody...
That's it, yeah.
I guess that one's quite harrowing though, because it's something that could happen to anyone, you know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean, yeah.
So I guess I'm not really worried that an alien's going to go on my face to spoil what we're going to see. But yeah, I mean, anyone Yes. This might be like a sensitive topic, but yeah, I guess anyone could be in a car crash. So.
Yeah, of course.
I guess that's worrying. This is something you mentioned earlier, actually. Hoping to give the episode somewhat of a different look, the producers applied a green tint to the film in the post-production editing process. I've seen that. Like, they do a lot on horror films and stuff like that, don't they? It's to create, like, an eerie atmosphere.
Yeah. Well, you can, I mean, again, it's good for, like, it's not just, like, green, but, like, if you add a sort of tint to any scene, it almost, sometimes you can set scenes differently, like, even though you're not completely conscious of it when you're watching the show. Like a change from a yellow tint to a blue tint in different villages can sort of instantly let you know where it's located and stuff like that, or give you a vibe about it. But
what's it called? A mise-en-scène, is it? Where you add colours to scenes and stuff like that?
Mise-en-scène's more, it can be the colours, but it's more the background. So, like, the setting and, like, what you're not focusing on in the background of the screen, But it can sort of be the sort of the colours in there.
I saw examples of it, like, the green one was like somebody showed the Matrix and the Ring have like green colour filters to show you this is outside of reality. Like,
and it's like techno and like you've got like the sort of the computer algorithms and stuff like that. And then you can even have stuff like a slightly orange tint, like you'll have in Star Wars. It'll always be like a slightly orange-yellow tint when it goes into, like, you know, in A New Hope. Yeah. When it goes into Luke's home, it has like this slightly orange-yellow tint, which gives it a bit of a warm feeling. So it's just stuff like that. It's clever the way you do it. And it's the way it's. I guess it's kind of psychology, isn't it? Yeah.
Thing. Sorry, I smiled then because my phone. I get updates every now and again to tell me there's a new trailer out for an important film. Yeah. But, what's this trailer? Shaun the Sheep movie, Farmageddon.
But you're looking forward to that one.
Can't wait. Anyway, The Executioner, Perry Simon, was named after an NBC executive producer that Carter knew.
Oh, okay, fair enough.
The part was played by Bruce Pinard, but he was uncredited. So I always feel that sucks. If you're in something
when you're
uncredited, it's like, unless you specifically ask to not be uncredited, because I know like some famous actors are in things and they don't want to be credited. Like Johnny Depp is in, what's it called? Tusk. He plays a character in Tusk, yet he's not in any of the credits anywhere, probably for good reasons. But So I understand that, but if you're not credited and you want it to be, then
it sucks a bit.
Kind of sucks. Anyway. Not to end on a sour note, Joseph Patrick Finn, a producer on the show, played the prison chaplain.
Okay.
At the beginning
there you
of the episode, so there you go.
I suppose it saves paying another actor, another person, double duty.
He's already there, might as well get him on. So that's the end of the production notes for this week. Now, we introduced a new segment a few weeks ago, and it's making a return.
Oh, God.
Because we've got some more of
the thought segment.
Welcome to Dan's Twitter Corner.
The thought segment.
I can't figure out whether I love or hate that segment. If I'm being honest, I kind of love it. Oh God. So we had a few tweets in this week. We had Meredith got in touch. She's glad you guys are back, and that you can't really tell by the episodes you've watched so far, but season 3 is widely considered to be the best season of the entire series.
We really hit a roadblock.
Yeah, maybe I should have read this tweet out in a couple of weeks when there's like a phenomenal episode on. But I'm sure. To be fair, again, I think we said this last week. I've heard that this season is like widely considered one of the best.
And so far,
this has been the only dud that I've seen.
And even this episode, it wasn't that bad. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I know you didn't like it, maybe. But I didn't find it too bad. It wasn't offensively bad, you know what I mean?
No, I know exactly what you mean. We also got a tweet from Kathy. She said, I'm so happy for you guys. How I wish I could go back and watch season 3 for the first time. I'm listening to your Clyde Bookman episode now, and just had to take a break to tell you how happy it makes me. So I love that. That's great. And you know what? every time I think about that episode, it's so good. That episode actually stayed with me. I was
Yeah,
kept on
that's the
thinking,
thing,
thinking about that for ages after we watched it.
It's because it like tackles themes that are like outside of the X-Files, or like important like sort of themes and stuff like that. I think that's the key to a good TV episode, one that you can sort of watch out of context of the actual series itself, and it's got a lot more to say than just of what's happening. You know what I mean? But
and it's something to think about. Like it just leaves it open for sort of you to sort of not figure out what's happened, but just sort of dissect each and everything. So,
and I think there's loads of episodes like that we've gone through so far. Like there's ones that are memorable to us, and then there's ones that we sort of get mixed up with other episodes. You know what I mean?
You can definitely those episodes.
You can sort of tell the episodes that we like a lot, and ones that we sort of go, "What was that one again?"
You know the episodes that we like a lot because we tend to reference them a lot. But that's because again they stay in your mind. Like, how many times do we reference Beyonce?
Yeah.
Because that was so completely unique to anything else.
Then again, I think we're the only X-Files reviewing group in the world who are lauding the benefits of Jersey Devil. So,
yeah, good point. That was a great episode.
We love that episode. Maybe not for the right reasons.
No,
but, anyway.
Those pictures, though.
Every now and again, I'll just get like a notification or something, like memories and stuff like that. Because we've been going over a year now, so we came through and we've seen like those pictures. And they just popped back up. I was like, brilliant.
So good. And the last, I mean, I don't really know whether it wasn't really to the show. It was more a discussion between yourself and Ray. And I didn't see this because it was you on the Twitter account. But it just seems like a bit of a mix up between whether Clyde Buckman killed himself through asphyxiation or autoerotic asphyxiation. So I don't know. Yeah, that was you two. Did you come up with a conclusion?
I think we concluded it wasn't autoerotic asphyxiation. My only thought into that is I don't think they could show it.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, maybe it was and they didn't show it.
That
noise.
I don't know. I'm not too sure. I think he just took OD, didn't he?
Yeah, I think that's the case. Yeah.
I don't think he was doing anything.
What do you think that autoerotic asphyxiation comment to Mulder was? I mean, I know this is last episode.
I think he was just winding him up.
I think it was. I think he knew exactly what buttons to press with Mulder, and it was just to wind him up.
I think he just naturally, because of what he sees and stuff, he just has a morbid sense of humour. You know what I mean? So he'll make these type of jokes which mess with him, but he's like, that's quite funny. You know what I mean? So I that's all I think.
But he did asphyxiate. So
he did asphyxiate.
There is that link.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's it for this week. If you do want to get in touch with the show, all the usual methods. But to be honest with you, it tends to be if you search Most Unwanted Podcast in any of the social medias, we tend to pop up. Apart from Snapchat or anything like that, we don't go for the newfangled ones, do we? Do you use Snapchat or TikTok?
Do you know what? Snapchat, like a few years ago, everyone used to be using it. Like, I've got it on my phone and then periodically I'll check it. But it used to be like loads of stories all the time.
Yeah.
2 now. I have 2 every now and again. And it's the same people. I think they're the only people who use Snapchat. Yeah. I think most people just use...
It was a fad, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I think Instagram's the big one now.
Everyone just uses Instagram for that thing because you can just do stories. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah, exactly.
So this became a very social media...
Yeah, we thought we'd do a little bit of...
TikTok I've used, but I don't know.
I honestly say I don't even know what TikTok is.
It reminds me of Vine, but it's not as good as Vine, if you ask me.
Yeah.
But Vine was just... I just like the daft videos on
Vine. Vine was good. I really enjoyed Vine.
That was a good like 2 years. Yeah. You know what I mean? And then it died.
I think it encouraged a lot of people to just go for it and create something, regardless of whether you was...
I mean, by the end, I think the length of the videos limited what you could do with the joke. Yeah. And a lot did become a bit more similar to as it went on. But for that first period, I feel like it was fresh.
Yeah, fresh. Definitely. It was something different. So. But anyway, this is a conversation for another time. For now, we'll be reviewing the next episode for next week. Do we have a title for the next episode?
Too Shy.
Too Shy, which, yes, of course.
I was excited when I saw it because I was like, oh, is this going to be about Kajagoogoo?
Who?
The band.
Who?
Too Shy. The song. Hush, hush.
Oh yeah, is that?
That's called Too Shy.
Oh
yeah.
okay.
So yeah,
You thought it was gonna be, you genuinely thought it was gonna be about that?
Well, I didn't know. I thought that they might reference it. You know what I mean?
Okay.
Maybe like he killed them to catch a cuckoo. I don't know. But spoilers. That's not the case.
Well, should we go off with a segment of that song?
Yeah. We'll just play that at the end.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, how do we get into that? Yeah. Okay. Well, we'll find out exactly what it's about next week. But for now, it's been a pleasure having you here to talk about this episode, despite the fact that I wish it was a bit of a better episode. But yeah, to all our listeners and to you, Luke, I'll see you next week.
And to play us off tonight, Kajagoogoo.
I like the way you did the Jules Holland. Kasabian.